A stalemate occurs when the king is not in check, but there's no moves available. So in this case, white only has a king. It's black to move. Black's queen happens to cover all the squares around the king, except for d2 is not covered. So what does black do? While knights are tricky, black makes the mistake of bringing the knight in and covering d2, which forces a stalemate as white has nowhere to go. Similar situation right here. White to move. White's queen happens to block all of black's flight squares, so white basically needs to move its queen. White makes a mistake of bringing his king, thinking it's going to get a checkmate, and it ends up with a stalemate. In this spot, black is in a lot of trouble, as white pretty much has every square covered. However, keep in mind white has almost every square covered. Black decides to take the knight and take a gamble by taking this pawn right here. And fortunately for black, white decides to take with the queen. And that results in a stalemate, as there's nowhere black's king can go. In this spot, black is in a lot of trouble, but its king can't move, so it has one little trick up its sleeve, and that's to simply push the pawn. Problem is for white, white can't take because it creates a stalemate, which it actually did in the game, and the game is drawn. However, if white were to push, well, guess what? Yeah, that's right. Black is going to have its pawn converted to a queen first, and most likely to win. So in that case, it's actually better for white to take the stalemate. In this spot right here, it's white to move. If you'll notice, the knight covers a number of squares. The queen covers other squares. Now, white has to be careful here when trying to finish. It should go for the check, right? But instead, what does white do? White decides to take the pawn. And guess what? Well, with the knight and the queen, and yeah, it's a stalemate. Nowhere the king can go. In this position right here, black is obviously had a pawn looking to convert. White is trying to avoid that and get a stalemate. And white obviously only has two choices. It's going to go to the corner. One move would be to check, and then force white here. When white could force a stalemate that way, or try to force a stalemate that way. White actually gets lucky here. Game doesn't play out that way. Black decides to go to f2. And from there, that's a stalemate as well.